For spring break, I headed northeast to visit Max and make some stops along the way. My first stop out of the city is Eddie's World, located just outside Barstow in Yermo, California. It's stated to be the largest gas station, featuring 3 restaurants, homemade ice cream, Pete's Coffee, homemade popcorn, premium jetted jerky, and the cleanest restrooms on the I-15. What you're seeing here is the Ivanpah Solar Electric Generating System, located 110 miles north of Barstow. It's a concentrated solar thermal plant in the Mojave Desert located at the base of Clark Mountain, just across the state line from Primm, Nevada. The plant has a gross capacity of 392 megawatts. It deploys 173,500 helostats, each with 2 mirrors focusing solar energy on boilers located on 3 of the 459 feet tall solar power towers. After spending the night in North Salt Lake City, I was happy to have my electric blanket and a 300-watt heater, as the last time I looked before closing my eyes, it was a very chilly 17 degrees out. In the morning, I continued north on the I-15 to Idaho Falls. Here I took a shortcut on State Highway 20, which runs north along the west side of Yellowstone National Park. The preferred route would be the one highlighted in yellow, which keeps you on the I-15 all the way to Butte, where you meet the 90 and start heading west to my destination in Billings, Montana. It was an extraordinary and beautiful drive on this state highway. Literally no traffic, until I started to realize I was losing my lane to snow. Thank goodness I came up to a snow plow, but passing was a little treacherous. Then I realized getting in front of him, the road hadn't been plowed. Yeah, once I reached those foothills though, the roads went back to normal and it started snowing. It was awesome. I so wanted to pull over and play in the snow, but unfortunately the snow plows use the sightseeing lanes to pile the snow on. And when it melts, it's just one solid brick of ice. So I couldn't pull over and play in the snow, but check out this river alongside the road. Is that just the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? I finally arrived in Bozeman and drove through the heart of the old town. After driving through Bozeman, I got to the north end of town, jumped on the 90, and arrived in Billings in the early evening, just in time to pick up Max from his friend's house. So I hid in the car for a little surprise.
Hey, Max.
What? Wait, what? Wait, what? 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 I'm so confused.
Are you? What are you confused about?
I did not know. Like, when I came here, I did not see. Oh, no, wait, I'm so confused.
This is the only photo I have of the entire 6 days, spending them with Laura, Max, and Ruben. And then I was back on the road, heading to North Salt Lake, as I wanted to see the Golden Spike National Park. By the time I arrived, the park was actually closed. Being it's a national park, you can still enter, but the visitor center was locked down. Not to worry, there was enough signage around to get a good idea of what this National Historic Site represents. Golden Spike National Historic Park, located at Promontory Summit, north of the Great Salt Lake in east central Box Elder County, Utah. The Golden Spike National Historic Park encompasses 2,735 acres. Initially, it was only 7 acres when it was established in 1957. It commemorates the completion of the first transcontinental railroad, where the Central Pacific Railroad and the first Union Pacific Railroad met on May 10, 1869. The final joining of the rails spanning the continent was signified by the driving of the ceremonial Golden Spike. The Golden Spike was 73% copper alloyed gold and weighed 14.03 troy ounces, or 436 grams. It was dropped into a pre-drilled hole in the laurel ceremonial last tie and gently tapped into place with a silver ceremonial spike maul. The spike was engraved on all 4 sides. The spike was removed immediately after being hammered to prevent it from being stolen. The original gold spike is on display at the Cantor Art Museum at Stanford University. Today, the location is marked with a special railroad tie and a plaque. A second gold spike, exactly like the one from the ceremony, was cast at the same time. It turned up in 2005 and is now displayed at the California State Railroad Museum in Sacramento. The first monument erected at the site was a concrete obelisk built by the Southern Pacific Railroad, successor to Central Pacific, and it can be presently seen near the 1969 Visitor Center. When I was there, it looked like it was missing the plaque, so I found the plaque and superimposed it for you. What inspired me to visit this national park was the 2011 TV series Hell on Wheels. I recommend everyone watch that, as it's pretty much a documentary on how the Transcontinental Railroad was built. As the sun started to set and the moon started to rise, I jumped back into Miko, as the goal was to get through Salt Lake City and crash for the night. My favorite new gadget is the Lunchbox Crock Pot. Laura made me a few meals of homemade chicken and mac and cheese. You toss it in the Lunchbox Crock Pot, and about an hour and a half later, you got a steaming hot meal. Nothing better than having a warm belly, especially when it's 18 degrees outside. It was a chilly night, but I had my little heater and electric blanket, and I did just fine. After a great night's sleep just south of Beaver, Utah, it was time to get back on the road. This stretch of the I-15 is always a lot of fun. It's about 10 miles of going through a canyon. We kind of nicknamed this as the Mini Grand Canyon. Anyone who drives the I-15 and has to go through Vegas dreads it. Absolutely dreads it. 45 miles north of Las Vegas is the Valley of Fire State Park, and you can travel through the whole park and end up at Lake Mead, avoiding Las Vegas completely. And at the other end, it's only 66 miles to Hoover Dam. The park has 25 miles of roads with many pullouts and different types of sightseeing points and different names for different rock formations. The contrast of the desert flatlands into the mighty red rock formations poking out surrounding this valley, I understand now why they call it the Valley of Fire. World-renowned for its 40,000 acres of bright red Aztec sandstone outcrops, nestled in gray and tan limestone, Valley of Fire State Park contains ancient petrified trees and petroglyphs dating back more than 2,000 years. It derives its name from the red sandstone formation, the Aztec sandstone, which formed from shifting sand dunes 150 million years ago. These features, which are the centerpiece of the park's attractions, often appear to be on fire when reflecting the sun's rays. It is Nevada's oldest state park and was designated as a natural landmark in 1968. The existence of petrified logs gives scientists the belief there was an ancient forest here at one time. The beehives are sandstone formations that demonstrates the unique design that can only be created by nature. The groove lines going in different directions are different layers of silt that are deposited at different times. The natural arch pull-off confused me. I went hiking for quite some time trying to find this natural arch. After hunting down the trails and looking all around, I looked up and saw this tiny little arch. Now, I was used to being at Arches National Park, so this was a little shocking. However, it is a natural arch. It wasn't until I got home and was reviewing my photos that on top of the sign, if you look at the very top, you'll see the natural arch. Oh my goodness, I could have saved an hour of hiking. The hike was good overall, as I got to take these amazing photographs. The Seven Sisters Formations is a group of 7 tall, red, eroded boulders surrounded by the sandy desert. Once part of the nearby Red Formation, these rock towers are all that remain after the relentless forces of erosion stripped away the surrounding sandstone deposits. Numerous blowholes forecast the eventual destruction of the towers that will take place many hundreds of years in the future. The Valley of Fire cabins were built from the sandstone in the surrounding area by the Civil Conservation Corps in 1935 to give travelers shelter. At my visit, there was a bus full of tourists not wearing masks, so I took a picture from afar. Sergeant John J. Clark was born in Canada in 1844. He stopped in the Valley of Fire, tied his horse to the back of a wagon, and wandered around, possibly looking for water. Eventually, he crawled under his buckboard and died. Past the Visitor Center, there's a road that tees off that takes you to the northern end of the park. It was a cool little ride up and around the canyon and down the hill amongst these giant red rock formations. On the north side of the park, there are about 6 different sites to pull over and take a view of. Unfortunately, though, the pullover spots were quite small. But I did, however, get a chance to take some photos and video. When I arrived at this area, I was kind of perplexed I don't know if you can see this hole in that rock straight ahead, but it looks like people have piled rocks inside. And let me tell you, this is huge. That would be a climb up to that little hole. This was the scene approaching White Dome Loop. To give you an idea, when you do the pullouts and get to the trailheads, what I was facing. It was crazy. As this was the end of the line, I turned around and headed back. I did not visit a few of the sites like the Petroglyphs and a few other of the pullouts due to the population of people there and tourists, but I know I'll be back again. And check out these yahoos on the hill there thinking they're part of the Lion King. I really feel when you're traveling through the national and state parks, you should treat it very delicately so the future can have a chance to enjoy it. Exiting the park was almost like being on a roller coaster of rolling hills. This one in particular, you had no idea what was on the other side. And there was a human there. That was a little sketchy. A couple miles after exiting the Valley of Fire, I arrived at the Lake Mead National Recreation Area. After driving for a while, I couldn't see Lake Mead, so I decided to go into Echo Bay and check out the water. Driving into Echo Bay, from above the little city, I finally got to see Lake Mead. Coming into Echo Bay, on the right-hand side was a general store, and I got to stop and refill my ice. I was pleasantly surprised seeing people with boats. Then I found the boat ramp and realized just how low the water level is. At one time, this had a huge restaurant, motel, and a big, beautiful parking lot, but it's all since closed down. It's reminding me of my trip around the Salton Sea and the impact that water can have in a community, or should I say, lack thereof water. It was devastating. I'm sure if the water levels were higher, this parking lot would be jam-packed. Looking ahead, you can see the water line. Oh my goodness. Everything from me to the lake would be completely underwater at its normal height. Traveling along towards Hoover Dam, there would be spots of the red rock peeking out from the desert hills. And then I came to Redstone Picnic Area, which reminded me of being back into the Valley of Fire. Driving in to the Hoover Dam area, I again got to see water in Lake Mead. If you look in the distance, you'll see the water line, the white stripe, and the high water line at the top of that white stripe. Just imagine Lake Mead is 120 miles long. The volume of water to make that full again would be enormous. I arrived at Hoover Dam with an hour to spare until they closed the parking lot, which was more than I would need, as I have been here, a little while back. And in the past visits, I have collectively taken all of the dam tours that they have offered. This is a picture of the spillway house on the Nevada side. You can see how far down the water goes. Now, when you really take a zoom in look, it is super low. This is the spillway on the Arizona side. The spillways are enacted when the lake is full. The water avoids going through the turbine generators, and the water flows directly into the river on the other side of the dam. In my handful of trips to Hoover Dam, I've never seen the water this low. The next 3 pictures was my trip in 2007. It was already getting low, but not as low as it is today. And this picture here was taken in 1999 when the lake was at full capacity. Hoover Dam is a concrete arch gravity dam in the Black Canyon of the Colorado River on the border between Nevada and Arizona. It was constructed between 1931 and 1936 during the Great Depression and was dedicated on September 30th, 1935 by President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Its construction was the result of a massive effort involving thousands of workers and cost over 100 lives. It was referred to as Hoover Dam after President Herbert Hoover in bills passed by Congress during its construction, but was named Boulder Dam by the Roosevelt administration. The Hoover Dam name was restored by Congress in 1947. Here you can see the Mike O'Callahan Pat Tillman Memorial Bridge. It's an arch bridge that spans the Colorado River between Arizona and Nevada and carries Interstate 11 and U.S. Route 93 over the Colorado River. Prior to the completion of the bridge, everyone had to drive right across the top of the Hoover Dam. The bridge was completed in 2010. Due to flooding in 1983, the water would flow over the spillway you can see here on the Arizona side, and it would exit out of those 2 square tunnels at the bottom of the screen. Here's a shot of the empty spillway on the Arizona side, and to give you an idea of the size of those tubes, there you go. The rectangle-shaped boxes on each side of the canyon are the discharge for the generating plant, but are only used when the plant is running at full capacity. Here's a fun fact. The spillways were only used twice, once for testing in 1941 and the second time at the floods of '83. Hoover Dam construction started in 1931, so all the stylings is very much Art Deco. I will for sure miss the 1999 trip and the Snackateria, just because I like saying Snackateria, and welcome the new Food and Gifts. What a boring name, right? Bring back the Snackateria, guys. Here you can see the power wires leaving the generator plant, and here is the original cable car system used to build the dam. The dog of the dam was a resourceful black shepherd born on the work site of Hoover Dam, a loyal friend to construction workers for years. He knew every supervisor would run to get the boss at the first sign of a man tumbling into the cement or a crane giving way. Well, enough of the dam stuff. It was time to continue my journey east. To my surprise, the new bridge had high walls that blocked the view on either side. I was told about this cute little mining town called Chloride, Arizona. I saw the sign and had to take a peek. Chloride is a mining camp in Mojave County, Arizona. Prospectors first located mineral resources in the area in the 1840s, including silver, gold, lead, zinc, and turquoise. Chloride was founded in 1863, but mining was not widespread until the 1870s. I arrived around 6:30 in the evening and it was locked up, shut down, tight as a drum. But it sure was fun driving around and seeing all the old mining artifacts strewn throughout the town. As it was getting late, even with the time change, I was headed to Oatman Boondocking BLM Campground in the Mojave Valley of Arizona. I made it after darkfall, but it was alright. I found a spot, set up camp, and had an amazing view looking over Bullhead City down below and the city lights. It was magical. I was surprised to see the glow from behind the mountains, wondering what city was back there until I realized the moon was rising over the hills and it lit up the desert like a spotlight. It was crazy. It was so bright, it was even casting shadows. Unbelievable. The next morning, I got up and decided to take a little hike and see what I could find. What was this rock used for with that perfect hole right in the center of it? I wonder if that was part of a tool or something. Typically when I arrive on BLM land, I try to get there at dusk so I can see and pick out a good camp spot and not too close to other people. For arriving in the evening, I did pretty good. Well, packed up camp. I left a couple logs by the fire ring for the next camper because I would not be using them. It was a nice change in weather, as my previous night I was camping and I think it was 18 degrees outside. Well, it's time to say farewell to this camping area. It did me good, and it was a great spot. And that's the end of part 1. Love you, Mom.